Hey everyone, Joshua Kirk here with you once again. Now it's time for episode 218 of Album of the Day, in which for today's album review, the artist I'm going to be talking about is an indie pop band that's had a really interesting sort of ride on throughout their career. They've put out some very catchy pop songs, and then they've also put out some very odd and experimental kind of indie music. They're the band known as MGMT. The kind of band that over the years has kind of polarized some people, but overall definitely have some fans that definitely know that this band is full of surprises. And I'm here to review their latest album, which was released on February 9th of 2018. And the album is called Little Dark Age. As you can see, I own it on vinyl here. Really awesome album cover. This is definitely one of my favorite indie records of last year. I put it as number 35 on my top 50 albums list of the year. This is what the vinyl artwork looks like. There's 10 songs on this album. It's over 44 minutes. Columbia Records is the label that released this. They're a long-time record label, and produced by the band themselves, Patrick Wimberly, and of course, Dave Fridman, who's also produced records for Sleater Kinney, Spoon, and a bunch of others. And really cool gatefold artwork going on here. And the sleeves have the lyrics. This is a double LP, so this is side A and side B. It sounds really good on vinyl. I think it sounds much more enjoyable on vinyl than it does digitally. Then this is side C and side D. Thank yous, all of that. And of course I use the download card. Yeah, that's the vinyl packaging for Little Dark Age, the new album by MGMT. Now, this is a record that definitely, I think what I found most impressive about this record is how the band has found the perfect balance between some incredible, well-written, catchy hooks, and some very, kind of odder, more kind of out there sort of sounds, because they kind of did either one or the other on previous records. On their debut album, Oracular Spectacular, they focused on creating some really good hooks that were very addictive, and then with Congratulations, they did experiment a little more and kind of move away from the more accessible hooks and place for something much more kind of ambitious, which, not everyone was really happy about. However, and of course that did lead to the band's self-titled record, which is, pretty much considered by most people to be their weakest album. However, with Little Dark Age, I think they did a good job kind of, combining all the sounds they've done and improving on them as well, and creating by far probably their greatest album to date. There's some great singles on this record, for example, love the title track. I mean, it's probably one of the most played songs on my iPod in 2018. I mean, I love all the layering of synths on this track and the really killer, kind of spooky, but really like instantly memorable sort of synth melody on there. The chorus is great. The songwriting is definitely fantastic, and like definitely it's kind of dark, kind of cryptic references really do fit in with how kind of deliciously spooky this track is. That spooky little synth interlude in the middle, dope. And yeah, definitely like a song that right from the first time I heard it, I was hooked. Hooked in a perfect definition of the kind of gothier, kind of pop, kind of haunted sort of atmosphere of this album. And then there's also the odder choice for a single, When You Die, which actually I hear a little bit of an Ariel Pink sort of influence in here. And that makes sense, because Ariel Pink actually had a hand in the writing credits of the song, and he also does play some additional guitars on it too, which definitely makes total sense, because the guitar solo in the middle, the really cool guitar solo in the middle, sounds like something out of Ariel Pink's latest album. His latest album. And also, another thing I love about this track, the snarky lyrics on this track are just like really hilarious. Hilarious. So it makes lyrics like, don't you have somewhere to be at 7:30 to seem really absurd, but you know, not hard to decipher. And I also do really like that kind of psychedelic folky refrain in the middle. It definitely sounds pretty similar to the more experimental sound that they're working with on Congratulations a little bit. And I love all the like weird, like whizzing synth effects on the track too. It's definitely a very cool track. But on the more accessible side, we have Me and Michael, which is like another example of the band's like ability to like create a fantastic indie pop song. I mean, I love the do 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 do. The synth melody on this track is just addictive as hell, and I also love the way the production sounds on here. The kind of jangly guitars and the kind of booming drums on here. Drums on here. The mixing sounds fantastic on there. And I really like its play on words in the lyrics too. I mean, it actually originally started as kind of Me and My Girl, but the band thought it sounded a bit cliched and awkward, so they decided to just throw in the word Michael instead, and the result is an incredible hook. Me and Michael. Well, I definitely love it. Yeah, the song really does show the band's like pretty amazing songwriting skills, and writing skills, and also really cool synth solo in the middle. It definitely isn't too far behind some of the band's best sort of like hits, like the songs Electric Feel and Kids. Now I want to delve into kind of some deeper cuts on the record. I love the opening track, She Works Out Too Much. Yeah, the song is pretty funny. It's a kind of song where the narrator here is kind of like, you know, tired of like spending a bunch of time on his phone and kind of, you know, liking his significant other's selfies. He's never really relaxed. He needs like a new routine. And the chorus like has some really clever satire to it. Like, I mean, he sort of feels, you know, jealous that like his significant other is like doing more productive things, so he's like saying that she works out too much, and there's also a pretty funny lyric in that chorus of the only reason it did. The only reason it never worked out was he didn't work out, sort of from the girl's perspective. And I love all the like weird vocal sounds going on this track. Like, for example, that cheeky female vocal in the chorus. The only reason it never worked out was he didn't work out. And stuff like that. And also, the way the production sounds pretty incredible. The synths on here sound great, and I also do really like its kind of chugging beat as well. It's like it has a similar kind of effect to it, kind of like a treadmill or something like that. Like that fits the whole working out theme. The song TSLAMP, which stands for Time Spent Looking at My Phone, is definitely another standout track on here. I mean, right from the first notes, it definitely leaves you hanging on to, all the stuff that follows. It's also really funky as well, which I do really like. And this is kind of a song where, don't let the title fool you. This isn't really your average, like, guy on his phone kind of song. This is a kind of song, it really takes it in a much kind of more darker sort of direction. Of direction, fitting with the whole Little Dark Age sort of theme. Where he's like trying to turn off the phone, but he can't detach from it. Talking about gods descending to take him home. And like he's wondering where the hours went as he's losing consciousness. So it sounds pretty morbid if you like dig a little deeper on here. But it's put over some very like neatly timed instrumentation and all of that. And there's a really cool solo in the middle. Can't even tell if it's a synth or if it's a guitar, but it sounds kind of sped up. Like it sounds as though it's some sort of instrument recorded with a varispeed, which like speeds it up or something like that. I would say probably the biggest lull on this entire record would have to be the song James. The whole reason I feel that way is because of the vocals. I mean, like, there is an Ariel Pink influence going on in this track a little bit, but this time I think it's maybe a little too apparent. If you put a blindfold on me and told me it was Ariel Pink singing on this song and not whoever the vocalist for MGMT is, I would believe it. I would believe it. And also it is, like, comparison to other tracks, a bit more lackluster in terms of the way the instruments sound, too, even though it has a really cool melody on it and some other really nice instrumental elements on here. Like, it has a really beautiful, mournful French horn solo in it. And I thought the lyrics were also pretty good too. The play on words, sort of using a name like James to replace, what would be like a girl's name or something like that. But I will say, more fun than that for sure is the interlude, Days That Got Away. Another track that I think really, definitely sounds more in the vein of like Congratulations in terms of like how odd it is. It's kind of off kilter and all over the place, but somehow it still sounds like a song you just want to dance to. It's got a really sick synth melody at one point, a kind of liquidy guitar in the middle. The guitar in the middle and some drums that sound really cool. Sound kind of like boom, 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 psh, boom, 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 psh. Yeah, like the way the drums sound on this record are like really cool because it sounds like at points it's actually more like electronic drums as opposed to like the typical like acoustic drum set, even though those definitely pop up on here too. up on here too, and it's got a really killer outro as well with a really neat guitar solo and some recorders as well. Well, it's the kind of track that, you know, took its time to grow on me, but the more I listen to it, the more I, like, discover really, like, something new and cool that's going on here. Went on here and shows that, you know, once in a while there's nothing wrong with the band indulging a little bit. The song the song One Thing Left to Try follows that up, and the song the song like definitely has kind of a fun sort of 80s sort of new wave inspired feel to it, which I do really like, and the vocals do sound really cool, even though I will say my one issue with the track is, you know, after a while, the kind of high-pitched falsetto vocals after a while does get to be a little much. But it does have a really cool vocal, like on the ending refrain of the song, which is just so catchy. Do you want to keep us alive? Do you want to feel alive? I'm definitely like bobbing my head the whole way on that part. Yeah, whole way at that part. And I love how the song sounds really upbeat for like most of the track and stuff like that. And then it like changes to something very strange and morbid, and haunted at the end. Like the song kind of, becomes a little, like I think it sounds as though some of the elements are slowed down or something like that, and it's put over some like melancholy piano. So it's definitely a really cool kind of haunted outro for the song. The track, then it's followed by the beautiful ballad, When You're Small, which is definitely one of my favorite tracks on this album. I really like its lyrics about, like, the narrator seems to be talking to this person that, you know, may think at times he's, like, normal size, but in reality he, like, is, like, kind of really small and kind of, like, small, and can't really, like, walk down the hall, Definitely some really cool psychedelia here, because, you know, some of those lyrics kind of, sound, which I'm not exactly sure what those lyrics are supposed to mean, but I'm pretty sure that the main character of the song, probably is on some really good psychedelics, while he's in this moment of, like, feeling small. The production on the song sounds really gorgeous. The moment where the kind of cult-like backup vocals come in the chorus, it gives me chills every time. Every time. Some other really cool instrumentation. Love the string arrangements they incorporate in there. Some kind of wah-wah guitar effects in here. And I saw a vibraphone in the liner notes, but, you know, I'm still, trying to figure out if I can hear it in the recording. But, like, the instrumental part, like, that ends the song is, like, definitely, really sick. And the closing track, Handed Over, which actually is another one of the singles here on this track, here on this album, is definitely a really nice sort of, like, more meditative, it's kind of a meditative song on kind of, the hard times that, like, the band has kind of, like, gone through over the years and stuff like that. They haven't put out an album in, like, 5 years, and stuff like that. So, like, I think they're sort of reflecting on stuff like, on the lyric, the deals we made to shake things up and the rights that they abused. They're sort of talking about how they wanted to mix things up a little bit, and, you know, their label wasn't very happy about it, but, you know, obviously they still put out congratulations all the same. But they're also saying that the stars weren't wrong. The time felt right. We both knew it was true. The smart ones exit early. The rest hope for a shoulder. And I really like that part at the end where, where the lead singer's singing all those different, lyrics, all those different lyrics, and it's put over a gorgeous, very kind of, spacey, hand it over, which sounds really cool on there, and definitely, makes it sound very catchy. Definitely a perfect, resolution closer, for this whole record. Yeah, MGMT really nailed it on this one. I think this is a kind of record of, if you thought, their last two records were a little too bizarre for your taste, this album would likely appeal to you if you miss some of the more accessible kind of hooks from their first album. But of course, yeah, I think, they're hardcore fans who really enjoy whatever the band is whatever the band has done would likely dig this album too, because they've pretty much made their perfect album essentially. So my final score for this album would have to be an 8.6 out of 10. I mean, I just warm up to this album so much more because the songs on here are just so addictive. And that's it for my review of Little Dark Age, the new album by MGMT. I'll see you for episode 219.